A shift in the architecture of power walk through Mayfair on a Tuesday afternoon, and you might catch a glimpse of something the old guard never expected. A new generation of power brokers who don't fit the traditional mold. They're not waiting for invitations to the table. They own the table. They built it. And increasingly, they're deciding who gets to sit at it. London has always been a city obsessed with power, but the currency of that power is changing. For centuries, influence here was inherited, passed down through bloodlines, protected by institutions, and maintained through networks so exclusive they barely needed to advertise their existence. But there's a fundamental restructuring happening in the capital's power dynamics, and it's being driven by a cohort that the establishment largely ignored. Exceptionally wealthy black women. These aren't socialites living off family fortunes or celebrities cashing in on fame. These are founders, CEOs, investors, and strategists who have built empires from the ground up. They've navigated industries that were actively hostile to their presence, challenged governments in court, launched media companies that rival legacy institutions, and accumulated the kind of wealth that translates into genuine structural power. Their fortunes aren't measured in salaries. They're built on equity ownership, diversified investment portfolios, and assets that appreciate while they sleep. What makes this shift particularly fascinating is how quietly much of it has happened. While tabloids obsess over royal weddings and tech bros posturing on social media, these women have been systematically acquiring property in ultra-prime London postcodes, negotiating nine-figure business deals, and building philanthropic infrastructures that impact hundreds of thousands of lives. They're reshaping what power looks like in one of the world's most expensive and traditionally exclusive cities, and they're doing it largely on their own terms. The industries they dominate tell you everything you need to know about where real power lies in the 21st century. Media, fintech, telecommunications, technology, oil, and strategic investments. These aren't decorative positions in legacy industries. These are the sectors that control information flow, capital movement, and infrastructure access. And increasingly, black women are the ones holding the keys. The geography of new money, where power lives in London. If you want to understand wealth in London, you need to understand property, not just any property, ultra-prime property in postcodes that most people only see in films. We're talking about Kensington, Mayfair, Knightsbridge, Belgravia, Hampstead, and the leafy expanses of Surrey. These areas aren't just expensive. They're where generational wealth parks itself, where every transaction is a signal, and where ownership itself is a form of power. The women reshaping London's elite understand this implicitly. Property in these areas isn't just about having a nice place to live. It's about asset appreciation, strategic positioning, and access to networks that operate in physical proximity. When Folorunso Alakija owns multiple apartments in what's considered London's most expensive building, she's not just indulging in luxury real estate. She's securing appreciating assets in a city where property values in prime areas have historically outpaced almost every other investment class. Kensington has become particularly significant in this geography of power. Isabel dos Santos owns a luxury mansion there, despite the swirling controversies around her frozen assets. The fact that Kensington remains a destination for this level of wealth, even under legal scrutiny, tells you something about the area's status as a safe harbor for capital. It's where oligarchs, tech founders, entertainment moguls, and now, increasingly, wealthy black women choose to plant their flags. Mayfair and Knightsbridge operate in a similar orbit. These aren't neighborhoods where you simply buy a flat. These are areas where every purchase is scrutinized, where neighbors include members of parliament, hedge fund managers, and people whose wealth is measured in the billions. To own property here is to signal that you've arrived, not just financially, but in terms of cultural and social capital. Then there's Hampstead and Surrey, slightly removed from the central London hustle, but no less significant. These areas offer something different: space, privacy, and a certain kind of old money respectability. They're where people go when they want to enjoy their wealth without the constant visibility that comes with central London. Several of the women in this new elite have chosen these areas precisely because they offer a different relationship with power, one that's less performative, more embedded in daily life. What's remarkable is how this property acquisition strategy mirrors the broader approach these women take to wealth: diversified, strategic, and thinking in decades rather than quarters. They're not flipping properties for quick returns. They're building portfolios that will appreciate over generations, that provide security, and that serve as platforms for further wealth accumulation. Patricia Bright, the democratization of financial literacy. Let's start with someone who represents a fundamentally different model of wealth creation. Patricia Bright. With a net worth estimated at over £5 million, Patricia didn't inherit her fortune or climb a corporate ladder. She built it through media, personal brand development, strategic investments, and perhaps most significantly, through creating platforms that democratize access to financial knowledge. Patricia's journey is instructive because it shows how the internet has fundamentally disrupted traditional gatekeepers. She started creating content when YouTube was still finding its identity, and she understood something that legacy media didn't. People were hungry for financial advice that spoke to their actual lives, not just theoretical wealth management for people who already had money. Her platform, The Break, is specifically designed to teach financial literacy: how to invest, how to think about money, how to build wealth systematically. This isn't abstract theory. It's practical knowledge delivered in a format that's accessible and, crucially, free from the condescension that often characterizes financial education aimed at women and minorities. But Patricia's wealth isn't just from ad revenue or brand collaborations, though those certainly contribute. She's invested strategically in property, understanding that in London, real estate is one of the most reliable wealth-building tools available. She's diversified her income streams in a way that any financial advisor would approve of: media revenue, investment returns, brand partnerships, and asset appreciation all working together. What makes Patricia particularly significant in this story is that she's building wealth while actively teaching others to do the same. There's no hoarding of knowledge, no sense that financial success is a zero-sum game. Her approach suggests that power doesn't just come from accumulating wealth, it comes from empowering others to do the same. That's a fundamentally different philosophy than the old model of elite wealth, which thrived on exclusivity and gatekeeping. Gina Miller. When conviction meets capital. If Patricia Bright represents the democratization of financial knowledge, Gina Miller represents something else entirely: the willingness to deploy wealth and expertise in direct confrontation with power itself. With a net worth estimated at around £10 million, Gina is the co-founder of SCM Private, an investment management firm. But that's not why most people know her name. Gina Miller became a household name in the UK when she took the government to court, twice, and won both times. These weren't minor procedural disputes. These were fundamental questions about constitutional authority and the rule of law. In 2016, she challenged the government's authority to trigger Article 50 without parliamentary approval. In 2019, she successfully argued that Boris Johnson's prorogation of Parliament was unlawful. Think about what that means for a moment. A private citizen, using her own resources and reputation, took on the full weight of the British government and won. That's not just legal acumen. That's a particular kind of courage that comes from having both the resources to sustain a legal battle and the conviction that some principles are worth fighting for regardless of the personal cost. The backlash she faced was severe. Death threats, racist abuse, attempts to intimidate her into silence. All of it came her way. And she didn't back down. That kind of resilience doesn't come from nowhere. It's built from years of navigating spaces that weren't designed for you, of being underestimated and using that underestimation to your advantage. of understanding that real power isn't just about wealth. It's about the willingness to use that wealth in service of something larger than yourself. Gina's investment firm focuses on transparent, ethical investment management, another signal of how this new generation of wealth operates differently. There's a consciousness about where money comes from and where it goes, about the broader impact of financial decisions. This isn't just about accumulating capital. It's about how that capital is deployed and what values it serves. Mo Abudu. Building media empires beyond borders, Mo Abudu represents yet another dimension of this transformation: the power of controlling narrative and media infrastructure. As the founder of Ebony Life TV, Mo hasn't just built a successful media company. She's created an institution that challenges Western media's monopoly on Africa: storytelling. Her deals with Netflix and Sony aren't small licensing agreements. These are partnerships that recognize Ebony Life as a major content producer capable of delivering stories that resonate globally. In an era where content is king and streaming platforms are desperate for diverse, compelling narratives, Mo positioned herself as the gatekeeper to an entire continent's worth of stories. But Mo isn't content with media alone. She's expanding into London real estate with plans for a luxury members club. This is strategic diversification at its finest, taking capital generated from one successful venture and deploying it into an entirely different sector. Members clubs in London aren't just businesses, they're institutions of power and networking. They're where deals get made, where relationships are forged, where the informal architecture of power operates. By creating her own club, Mo isn't just joining the establishment, she's building parallel infrastructure. She's creating spaces where people who look like her, who share her values and vision, can gather and build power collectively. That's a fundamentally more sophisticated understanding of how power actually works than simply trying to gain entry to existing institutions. Mo's net worth, measured in the multi-millions, reflects this diversification. Media revenue, property investment, strategic partnerships, all of it compounds. And crucially, she's building assets that appreciate independently of her personal labor. The media company has value beyond Mo herself. The real estate will appreciate regardless of what she does next. That's how generational wealth is built. Valerie Moran, the quiet power of fintech billions. Then there's Valerie Moran, whose story might be the most remarkable of all, precisely because it's the least known. Valerie co-founded Prepaid Financial Services, PFS, a fintech company that operated largely out of the public eye, but provided crucial financial infrastructure for businesses globally. When PFS was sold, estimates of the deal ranged from £281 million to £350 million. Even taking the conservative estimate, Valerie's stake gave her a net worth of approximately £200 million. To put that in perspective, that's the kind of wealth that changes not just your life, but the lives of everyone around you for generations. That's buy your own private jet money, influence policy money, fund entire institutions money. What's particularly interesting about Valerie is how she's chosen to deploy that wealth. She's become a major philanthropist, but not in the performative, gala-attending, check-writing way that often characterizes wealthy donors. Her philanthropy appears to be focused on systematic intervention, education, food programs, initiatives that address root causes rather than just symptoms. Fintech is also a particularly significant industry for this story. Financial technology sits at the intersection of finance and technology, two of the most powerful industries in the modern economy. Companies like PFS provide the infrastructure that allows other businesses to operate, to process payments, to move money globally. That's infrastructure-level power, the kind that's invisible to most people, but absolutely essential to how the modern economy functions. Valerie's wealth came from building something genuinely valuable, selling it at the right time, and then using the proceeds to build even more power through strategic philanthropy and investment. That's a textbook textbook example of how modern wealth is built and deployed, Folorunsho Alakija. When oil money meets London real estate. If you want to understand the scale of wealth we're discussing, Folorunsho Alakija is where the conversation gets truly extraordinary. With a net worth estimated at over £1 billion, Folorunsho operates at a level of wealth that's almost incomprehensible to most people. Her fortune comes from oil and fashion, but the oil business is where the real money lies. In Nigeria, Folorunsho was one of the few women to successfully navigate the notoriously corrupt and male-dominated oil industry. And she didn't just participate, she fought the Nigerian government in court over oil rights and won. That legal victory alone secured her fortune and demonstrated a level of determination that's characteristic of every woman in this story. In London, Folorunsho owns multiple apartments in what's considered the city's most expensive building. These aren't just homes, they're statements. They're proof that she's arrived at the absolute pinnacle of wealth and power. The building itself is a symbol of ultra-prime London real estate, where each transaction is measured in tens of millions of pounds. What Folorunsho represents is the global nature of this wealth. She's not just a London figure or a Nigerian figure. She's a global billionaire who moves between worlds with ease. Her wealth gives her access to power structures in multiple countries, multiple industries, multiple spheres of influence. That's the kind of power that transcends borders and operates according to its own logic. The fact that her wealth comes from oil is also significant. For decades, oil money has been the preserve of Arab sheikhs and American tycoons. Folorunsho's presence in that space, as a black woman, challenges every assumption about who gets to control natural resources and benefit from them. Isabel dos Santos, power, controversy, and frozen assets. No discussion of wealthy black women in London would be complete without addressing Isabel dos Santos, whose story is more complicated and more cautionary. Isabel was once considered Africa's richest woman, with a net worth estimated at over £1.5 billion. Her wealth came from investments across multiple sectors, particularly telecommunications and finance in Angola. The controversy surrounding Isabel is significant. Angolan authorities and international investigations have accused her of corruption, alleging that she benefited improperly from her father's position as president of Angola. Her assets have been frozen in multiple jurisdictions, and she's become a symbol of the problematic intersection of political power and private wealth in Africa. Yet Isabel still owns a luxury mansion in Kensington. Even with frozen assets, even under legal scrutiny, she maintains a foothold in one of London's most exclusive neighborhoods. What does that tell you about how wealth operates at this level? It tells you that wealth, once established, has a gravity of its own. It creates protection, buys time, opens doors even when under siege. Isabel's story is important precisely because it's not a simple success narrative. It raises uncomfortable questions about the sources of wealth, about the line between entrepreneurship and exploitation, about what happens when personal fortune is built on the backs of national resources in countries with weak institutions. But it also demonstrates something else, that even controversial wealth finds harbor in London. The city has long been a destination for money that needs discretion, for fortunes that are complicated, for wealth that exists in gray areas. Isabel's presence in Kensington is consistent with London's historical role as a global safe haven for capital, regardless of its origins. Tsitsi Masiyiwa, telecommunications, technology, and transformative philanthropy. Finally, there's Tsitsi Masiyiwa, whose family fortune is estimated at over £2 billion. Tsitsi is married to Strive Masiyiwa, the founder of Econet Wireless. But she's far from just a wealthy spouse. She's a partner in the business, a major philanthropist through the Higher Life Foundation, and a figure of significant influence on global boards and institutions. The Higher Life Foundation is particularly remarkable. It's not a small charity writing occasional checks. It's a systematically designed intervention that has funded education for tens of thousands of students, provided food security for hundreds of thousands of people, and worked to build financial literacy across multiple African countries. That's not philanthropy as public relations. That's philanthropy as structural intervention. Telecommunications and technology are the family's core business, and it's hard to overstate how significant that is. In the 21st century, controlling telecommunications infrastructure is controlling access to information, to commerce, to everything that makes modern life function. The Masiyiwa family doesn't just have wealth, they have infrastructure-level power. Chitsi's presence on global boards also matters. These board positions aren't ceremonial. They're where policy gets shaped, where capital flows get directed, where the decisions that affect millions of people are made. Her voice in those rooms represents a perspective that has historically been excluded, and her presence changes what's possible. What Tsitsi represents, perhaps more than anyone else in this story, is the deployment of wealth for transformation. Yes, the family has enormous personal wealth, but they are actively using that wealth to build educational infrastructure, to create opportunity, to change systems. That's wealth operating at its most sophisticated level, not just accumulating, but building and transforming. Conclusion: the systems above the glass ceiling. Here's what all of these stories add up to. Black women didn't just break the glass ceiling, they stopped caring about it altogether. They built their own structures, created their own pathways to power, and accumulated the kind of wealth that allows them to operate on their own terms.